All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today on our special edition Soul Share episode with Bliss Prema. I am so excited that she's here with me today. I got to meet her about a week ago at the 1111 Star Knowledge Conference, and I just loved her presentation. I think she's amazing. Bliss believes that we are here on planet Earth to learn valuable lessons, enabling us to purify our collective soul in order to ultimately return to source. There's only one way to accomplish this: together. As an activating teacher, soul synthesizing coach, and fearless initiator, her higher purpose is to help you advance to your next level of consciousness. With a talent for deep transformation, she leads with transparency and radical honesty in order to elevate happiness and love for all. Bliss, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Erica. It's such an honor to be here. It's so nice to hear you and see you after falling in love with you last week in Denver.
We
So
totally
thank
did.
you.
Matching tattoos and
Right?
fun synchronicities together. And I loved your presentation, and I just thought, what amazing tools. And I really wanted to share them with our audience because I know how much they're going to appreciate them, love them, and use them.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyone who's listening to the podcast right now, I want you to know that we are also doing this by video. So you can check us out on our YouTube channel and you can see our faces. So that's a little different and fun because we don't normally do that. So you can see Bliss's beautiful face. And Bliss, tell me a little bit about how you got on this path that you're on.
Yeah, thank you. It's funny, when I went to college, I had this deep burning desire to help people. So I took law and security administration and I wanted to become a police officer. And so it's just so funny when you look back at your life in retrospect at how every step of the way, each aspect of what you learned really helped mold you into becoming who you are now. Um, I became an agent for actors in Vancouver, which was really amazing. I loved working with people. I loved encouraging their gifts. And I really liked helping them grow from one level to the next. But I quickly realized that the film industry and watching TV and movies, it's just very superficial. So it's very much about the external appearance, and and then people like imitating or becoming a different version. So it was beautiful, the one-on-one work, and yet I was just feeling that it was really missing the soul connection for me. So it was interesting because as I was starting to realize that while I loved that soul connection with the actors, I started to really get a deeper need to get connected to my own soul and self. And I started practicing yoga. And from there, realized that I actually wanted to become a yoga teacher. And that's where the Om symbol that we both have came from, was going to India. Yeah, right. Going to India and becoming a yoga teacher. And in yoga, the universal concept is that Om means we are all one. And so around that same time, I also started looking at my reality and saying, I've grown up in a very patriarchal world where there's all these masters that are men and God is a man and all these male role models and people to externally look out to and learn from. But yet in my reality, there was two. There was the masculine and the feminine. And so I started to journey into the feminine and our feminine role models, and then discovered the goddess. And so really getting in deep into learning about the matriarch, which was what happened before the patriarch, when goddess was revered. So then I had this 8-year journey of really honoring the divine feminine and running monthly new moon goddess gatherings. We have a goddess gathering group on Facebook. And so I really felt that I had come into a really deep understanding of the duality that is within us as well as without. And I needed to go even one step further. I wanted to go beyond the gender and really get into more of the soul. And so it was from there that I started to receive activations, like literal energy activations. And it was a consciousness from a different time and space that would literally come ripping into this vessel. And every time that it did, my way of thinking would just be altered and upgraded into just a new way, a different way. And from there, I started receiving. I received the Conscious Evolver, which is an 8-step system, and it's a way to upgrade and up level and improve all the aspects of our life. And I integrated it into my own life, and then from there, I started sharing it with others. And what happened sort of naturally was a way of coaching people through this system. And so that was 2012. And and so I started coaching. I was teaching yoga, giving Indian head massages, and then in 2016, the energy activations began again. And so for a period of 8 months, these activations just came in like lightning bolts. And from there, I created what is now running. It's the 4th circle running. I call them the initiate circles. And that's where all this consciousness that was bestowed upon me or within me, embedded within me, is now shared with willing participants. And we actively create positive change in this reality. So that's sort of the progression, really getting in now beyond, like, into the soul, into the oversoul, but into the higher self and the future self. So the one that is so wise, because like as I shared in the beginning, like we always look in retrospect, right? We're always so much wiser when we look back into time, and we can see the lesson so clearly. We can see why that opportunity was presented to us, and it's always so that we can grow. So now I look at things from that higher self, future self perspective of being able to travel now back into time, into this present self, and connecting with that consciousness, connecting with that wisdom that comes with time and experience. So it's been a real journey from the superficial, the external, looking outwards for the guidance, to really doing that deep connection into understanding our duality, really having that connection with the soul, and then moving into different time and space, and garnering and connecting with a futuristic, and I don't really like to say future because time's not linear, but a consciousness that is already upgraded, up leveled, and further developed, and then bringing that into the now.
Yeah. I think that is the way to heal, when we get in touch with our inner being. And every single one of us has a higher self, right?
Exactly.
Which means that we all can contact it.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's what we do in the initiate circle is we just really focus on what we need to do to access the parts within us that are deep or heavy or still in trauma, still in pain, still in suffering, because that is the energy that is lower and denser. And that is how we stay in third dimension. So third dimension has been very, very creatively and cleverly designed to keep us in that lower frequency of fear with just pockets of love. And yet, as we ascend, we have that opportunity to access lighter frequency, more loving energy, and rise ourselves up.
Totally. And we are ascending right now, right? The energies are escalating more and more and more as time goes by, right?
Well, yeah, the way, like the analogy that I see it like is like a lever. I don't know if that's the right word, but It's like you have 3D matrix, which is super heavy. It's highly conditioned. There's so many programs, and it when 3D matrix works the best is when everyone is living in fear, because fear is very, very heavy. And then you have fifth dimension over here. But as you have, and this is why, like, the mass collective consciousness, in just even being open to ascension, being willing to do the work, as more and more. I mean, it started with the 144,000 all awakening at the same time, and then as more and more are being receptive and willing and open to the growth and accessing what's dark and heavy and dense and fearful within them, and they start to release it and retransform it into love. It's like that trolley starts to happen. So the 3D matrix is going to stay there, but the consciousness is going to start to rise up. So what felt really far away before, like that 5D dimension, it starts, so then we get the consciousness levels, and then the consciousness, they can start moving towards each other. So in the 5D, the 7D, which I call creator mind, we have a consciousness, and that is our future self, higher self. And so it descends. And as we ascend, it descends, and we get closer and closer to one another, to ourselves.
Hmm. As you were just saying that too, it reminded me of the fact that our right and left hemispheres of our brains are working together more closely now, more easily. And this is why, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
that it's convergence, it's harmonization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so the beauty is and this is what's so amazing. I mean, you can look back into history and see how consciousness keeps it's consciousness is here to evolve, right? That's why we keep saying yes to this experience and diving back into planet Earth reality, right? Even though it is such a challenge and
Good word.
beauty and work and play, like, it's got so many possibilities to it.
Totally. So much to learn here, so much opportunity, so much catalyst. It's such a beautiful, magical place. And when we can really understand our oneness within it, that's when it really gets magical, right? But here's the question I have for you. A lot of us doubt this idea of oneness. We look out in the world and we see things that don't please us, and how can I be one with that, right? So this is a question that a lot of people have. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on why we doubt this immense power that we have, this unity that we all are.
I love that question. And so I'm just going to take it probably into a different direction than perhaps what anybody might expect. And
Perfect.
so, yeah. And this is, I think, why you and I connected so well, is that, so for me, growing up, as soon as I was cognizant of thought, I kind of started calling, can I say BS? Like, kind of started calling bullshit on what I was seeing. Like, it was like no amount of amnesia injected in me could make me forget that this was a game, and that there was keys that I was trying to find, and that there was something that I was supposed to figure out and discover, and that embedded into my everyday experiences would be signs and symbols that would direct me. So from a very young age, I've been very, very open and observant to the signs and the symbols. And I think I'm so grateful that I have the mom that I did, or do. I was born at 1049. So my whole life, from when I can remember, she was always like, it's 11 to 11, Bliss, make a wish, 11 to 11. So the 1111 was imprinted. So seeing the numbers and on the clock and in the license plate, it's been there for such a long time for me. So that being said, when I went to India to become a yoga teacher, the Swami there was very, very clear about the Maya and talking about the illusion. And so it's it's been embedded in our very beginning of time. So the Maya is a Sanskrit term that comes from the Vedas, which were written in 1500 BCE. And so they're like one of our oldest religious scripts. And like, you don't even have to use the word religious. And in these scripts, written by, you know, minds that were closest to source because it was so long ago, and they were trying to relay that everything that we see is not what it appears to be. So the definition of Maya is that it's man or imagination, and that it's that what we can imagine we put into creation. So now you fast forward into present time, and we have the top minds in the world are quantum physicists, and they're finally coming to the realization that the only way that we can explain the unexplainable, and that is how we are even here in existence, is called the holographic principle. And so it all has to do with the black hole, and literally they've just gotten to a point where no matter where they look, whether it's within our human vessel, whether it's within nature, whether it's within the smallest atom and molecule or cell, that and then even up to the universe, which is like so vast, that no matter what happens, it always comes down to computer code. That with embedded into absolutely everything is computer code, similar to what you would find if you were to look at the code that creates a search engine that you look at. So if we can all agree, even if it's just like a thought experiment, that we are all currently living in a holographic simulated reality, then we can all start really seeing things with a different perspective. We can start looking at our experience with all fresh eyes and new eyes. So like, let's just kind of take it down to basics, right? So here we have this body is the most highly developed virtual reality experiencer that has been developed to date. So if you think of in our simulated reality that we're experiencing right now, we can experience virtual reality. There's Oculus Quest, which is like the one of the best headsets that we can have on, and our virtual reality right now is really realistic. Like, they've got 3D simulated pictures that look real. So you put the headset on and you can go into these worlds, and they're doing really great, except that you can feel the headset on your cheeks. It can kind of give you a little bit of a headache. You can feel the cord attached to whatever, and you can only walk in a certain way, or else you're going to bump into the wall or into the couch. So they kind of create this tank or like field that, you know, there's lines that, you know, you don't walk further than that, or else you'll walk into the wall, right? So we're doing really amazing, and yet there's limitations. So they're estimating that within 50 years from now, we're literally not going to be able to distinguish what world we're actually in, because our hardware, like what we use to experience the virtual reality world, will be so good. But so when I look at everything, I'm like, we're already there. We've already designed it, and we're already in this holographic experience. So these are the most defined, amazing headsets. We've got our perception. We're able to perceive, and everybody knows, like this, like, I mean, think of how incredibly smart we already are to figure out the speed of light, quantum physics, gravity. Like, I mean, we've got all of these great minds that have figured all this out. So how is it, it's not that far of a stretch to go, okay, well, so this is my suit. Have you watched the movie Ready Player One by
No.
Steven
Oh,
Spielberg?
wait, I think I have. Is this where
Yeah,
they're all in the simulated reality? And
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you think about it, so I'll use that movie as an example. So he gets the suit, and when he puts the suit on, he can actually feel. So his body that's in the what is it, like the lot with all the cars that he goes to have his alone time, to have be in virtual realities. So he finally gets the suit, and then that way when he puts the suit on and he gets touched, he actually has senses, so that when the girl in the virtual world touches him, he can feel it. Well, that's what this vessel is that in its highest form. We have developed a virtual reality experience that even is so precise that we have saliva in our mouth and we can taste and we can eat. So like in the Matrix, that's a great movie. If anybody hasn't watched it, definitely watch it. It will open your mind in a new way. It's not exactly precise, obviously, but so that's sort of that little way to look at it. So we go to bed at night. We have to shut down this vessel wearing this high-end VR suit. It needs to, like our phones, we have to shut our phones. We plug them in every night. When they run out of battery, we say they die. We plug it back in. What are we doing every night? We're putting our vessel to sleep, and then we wake up. And we think that we're in a new day, except it's the exact same VR reality, simulated reality, day in, day out. We have everything stays the same. We have the seasons that change. This is how my mind works, right?
I love it.
So here we are. We're in this simulated game. We've all chosen to be here, and we have a span, right? We have a span from start to finish. And that is what we call our life. So here we all are. There's 7.5 billion of us all in this reality now. And then we have this concept of oneness. So now how do we integrate 7 billion unique beings having their own experience into oneness? And so it's like in the movie The Matrix, where everything just becomes, when we sort through everything mathematically and we just come up with numbers, computer code, we recognize that this is all just energy. And within the energy, there has been created guidelines and rules. And it's the same way that software engineers create programs. We're just imitating art, right? That's all we're doing, is we're just creating more versions of where we are, who we are, and where we came from. So then we need to go into, okay, so I am having my own unique experience that is very different from yours, right? And yet there is something that connects us. There is something that despite these layers of separation that have been written into the code, that even when we travel deep into that space within us, we recognize that we have a soul, and we recognize that we have consciousness. And so we look at the 3D matrix as a very cleverly designed separator. It has been designed in so many ways to make us believe that we are isolated, that we are alone, and that there is only me on this journey. And then, if I'm lucky, I have parents who love me, friends who support and love me. I have children who love me, co-workers, but ultimately, this is my own journey. And so, yes, we have the solo journey. And so it's solo, like SOLO, or soul, SOULO, our solo journey. And yet we're still all in this solo journey together. And so when this consciousness came into me, with me, reconnected with me through those activations, I really started to, what it really did was it just dissolved. It really dissolved all those layers that I had been conditioned to really believe that I was alone, and the pain and the suffering and the trauma, and then see how perfectly that is designed to keep us in the 3D matrix, because it wants us to believe that we're alone, and then it creates pain, and then we're heavy, and then we stay in the 3D realm. So I really started to experience that dissolution or dissolving of those layers. And so what I did was, in the initiate circle, I started doing what I call creator awakenings. And in these creator awakenings, I really am able to help people, um, just dissolve that membrane, I guess, that wants us to feel separated and wants us to feel disconnected. And once we start this practice, it's actually so easy to just let it go. And then of course there's always like going to be that resistance, because we're familiar with the separation. We're comfortable, even if it is uncomfortable, we're comfortable with it. So yeah, it's all we know, right?
Yeah.
Until we know something different. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the Sanskrit for Maya. It's interesting that you started talking about that. Maya is my daughter's name. And since our children are our greatest teachers, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful name for her, because she is my greatest teacher. And this illusion that we are in is also our greatest teacher. Yeah. And I
Truly.
feel like when we talk about this holographic simulation, sometimes people get like, I don't know. I don't know about that. But I think it's important to remember that we created it. Nobody put us in here. We created it, right?
Totally. Yeah. Well, and that's part of the creator awakening is um I think really the moment that I felt it the most was I just woke up one morning, and it was like I could literally feel the fingerprint of that which created us. And it was like no amount of like plastic gloves, no matter what the amnesia injected into us, it was just still there, that real creator awareness. And the beauty is that we've created this experience with a lot of tips and clues. I mean, we have the cross, right? As above, so below. Like we want us to wake up. And that's the best part is we've created this game with this intention to wake up, and we are fully loved and supported in that process. And yet, like, if you were going to design a game, if you were going to design an experience, maybe the first time you designed it, you would make it super beautiful, like the Garden of Eden, perhaps, right? Like one man, one woman, the Garden of Eden, everything beautiful. Like, I'm going to design that game. I'm totally creating a VR company. It's my next goal. And like, there you go. First opportunity. Let's go to the Garden of Eden. Right? And like, you would want to go there and you would want to stay there for a while, right? But after, like a year, 2 years, 3 years, like how long after that, when you knew that you had capacity to create more, or you had this burning desire to expand, obviously we would want to create more. We would want to create something different. And so I think it's a beautiful example of like, okay, so after experiencing such beauty and perfection, like, I'm curious, what would it feel like to create something maybe not so beautiful, what would it feel like to create challenge? What would it feel like to create scared and fear and dinosaurs, right? Like, you can just look at our past to see what we've imagined, what we've created. If you are willing to have that thought experiment that everything has been a simulated reality, and that who else is going to be the experiencers? Like, we have the ones who create the experience, and then obviously we're going to want to come in and we're going to want to beta test it. We're going to come back out and we're going to be like, okay, that was way too easy. I figured it out. Let's make it even more challenging and even more challenging. And then we have modern day where it's like, every single person has a TV or Netflix, and every show on Netflix, like it starts off all intriguing and interesting. And then sure enough, it goes totally dark and conditioned and programmed and fearful. And so it's like, there's all these constant draws to stay in that 3D realm. And yet we've created it and designed it so that there is another place to go to. And it's like, it's almost like we want to go back to where we once came from.
Mm-hmm. You reminded me when you're talking. So if anyone's ever had the experience of being with Source, so through a past life regression I went to Source, and it's the most beautiful, loving, peaceful energy. Just, you can't explain it with words. It's immense. And I was really bored. I was really bored. Most people want to stay there when they go, but I was like, this is great and all, but I just want to be out. I want to create. I want to do more, because everlasting peace and bliss. Yeah, I mean, it gets a little boring. It does.
And the thing is that by design, we are creator.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that might be offensive to someone who has put a lot of prayer into creator, right? And put it into the same reverence as God or source. And yet to me, they're all one and the same, right? It's the energy that put this into creation. It's the energy that like, think of the Big Bang Theory is how they describe it, right? And so yet, if you think of creator, if you think of nature, like creator, all it wants to do is create. And I mean, I had experienced that. I created the Conscious Evolver platform, and then I needed to create Conscious Evolver coaching. And then I needed to create the Initiate circle. And now I'm creating the Conscious Evolver coaching program to be available for the public. And then when I'm done that, I want to create a VR company where I create worlds, right? Like, it doesn't stop. We all have that creator desire within us. And I mean, some people want to create children, and they love creating children. So we create constantly. We create beautiful meals. We create beautiful events. I mean, creator energy is our birthright. It's what is inherent within us. And to me, that is what so many people are literally feeling depressed about or sad, because they don't feel they've found their higher purpose in life, and they're struggling to find their higher purpose. And so they feel like it's like this overarching career choice that they need to find and make. And yet really all that it is it's like really tapping into what makes me happy, what brings me joy, when do I feel lit up and passionate, and then just take that and create with that. And it doesn't need to have a large audience. It can just be for us. But once that creator energy is being satiated, being accessed, acknowledged first of all, and then revealed, and then brainstormed, and then brought to life, that's when we feel our souls lighting up. And that's when we are in direct connection to our source self, because we are fulfilling what our purpose is here, and that is to be our creator expanded self. And then we have all these beautiful places and spaces that we can go to that we designed, like Ascension. And for me, Ascension is us about really connecting into our most loving, highest sense of consciousness, where we really go into that who I am. And that's another layer of being able to let go of those layers of separation. So if you want, we can play with the I am a little bit.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is definitely what I wanted to do. I wanted to share
Yeah.
this with everyone. It's
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the I am is it's a really humbling opportunity to remove those layers of separation, to really see ourselves in one another. So I know so many people, and I think you and I actually talked about this, where you practice walking down the street, and when you see someone, you say, I am that, I am this person." And then what happens is you become really aware of all your judgments and your criticisms and your like, you know, if you see someone and there's a quality about them and it kind of triggers you and you're like, "Oh, I don't want to be that person." And you start really seeing where in yourself you are the judge, where in yourself you have resistance, or where you're out of love. You know, you're not operating from a vast expanded heart space. So it's an amazing practice to just walk down the street, because they'll be there. They'll, like, every single person that you don't want to be, every single person who you resent or triggers you. And then so it's a really beautiful practice to really be like, okay, I see a quality in that person that I am unwilling to see in myself, right? The shadow side. And then you see that, you like it full, like right in your face. And then you just turn that around and you transform and you transmute it to love. So that's a really great practice. And so then this one is just really like helping us just let go of any of those layers of separation. So we're all energy. And yes, we have our own unique experience in this vessel. But when you remove the layers of separation and bring it all down, we're all just ones and zeros, right? So energetically, there is no division, there is no separation. So we can start off with, I always do the same thing, and so it's so taking a look at the shirt that you're wearing today, right? Um, if you knew how to sew and you had gone to a store and you had bought the material and you cut out a pattern, would you be able to sew the shirt that you're wearing?
I would.
Yeah, yeah. But so for today, the shirt that you're wearing, did you sew?
No.
Okay. But the likelihood that someone on the planet sewed your shirt is very possible. So it wasn't necessarily you, but it was someone on the planet. So if you remove that layer of separation, that there is someone, there is a separation between you and the other who sewed the shirt, I could then ask you, who sewed your shirt? And you would respond,
I did.
right? So this beautiful shawl that I just got at a Tibet fundraiser,
It is
it,
beautiful.
it wasn't me, but it was some beautiful Tibetan. So I removed that layer of separation, and no, I didn't create the shirt, or the shawl, but create the layer of separation. And I did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I can say, well, who created your pants?
I did.
Who who made your shoes?
I did.
Okay, and so then we can get a little bit more practical, and I can say, well, who made your breakfast for you this morning?
I did.
And that's probably true. And then I can go into, well, who grew the food that you made it for your breakfast this morning?
I did.
Yeah. So once we start removing that layer of separation, it's not me that's going into those fields growing the food. But I mean, I very easily could grow a garden in my backyard, and then that would be me as well. So it's just really like letting go of that really conditioned membrane that keeps us separate and apart. So then we can go into, well, who's made all the decisions that have led you to this exact moment in time?
I did.
Yeah, yeah, and we did,
Yep.
right?
All day.
Okay, so then let's move to your house. Who built your house?
I did.
Who paved the streets outside of your house?
I did.
Who painted your house?
I did.
Who created the electricity that runs in your house?
I did.
Who invented the fridge and the stove and the dishwasher and the washing machine?
I did. I am so good.
I am. I am. I mean, we are. We really, really are. Like, I mean, we are highly intelligent, intelligent with a capital I, right? And so many people, when they invent things or they create things, typically the idea comes to them, whether it's through a dream or a vision or we use the word download, like something comes in, right? So it's like, well, where is that information coming from, right? Well, it's coming from our creator self, our future higher self. It's coming from the other side, that which creates the hologram. And we're implementing it through this vessel into this reality. So who built the schools?
I did.
Who built in the educational system that is taught to every single child?
I did.
Who built the hospitals?
I did.
Who built all the healing systems and structures within the hospital?
I did.
So then let's go into nature. Who created water?
I did.
Who created the mountains?
I did.
Who created the solar system?
I did.
Who created all of the animals, the finned, the two-legged, the winged, the four-legged?
I did.
Yeah. Who created flowers?
I did.
Yeah, right? So then all of a sudden we're really getting into our full creator capacity. So now we're in seventh dimensional creator mind. So this is when we can really like see the holographic simulation and recognize that it may have not been this particular vessel, but this shared collective consciousness, it is all who I am. There is no separation between that which is on the other side, between future self, higher self, past self, the 7.5 billion. We are all in this together. It is who I am. Right?
Yeah.
And then, so then we can go into, well, so who created the hologram?
I did.
Yeah. Who created third dimensional matrix?
I did.
Who created fifth dimensional
I did.
mind space? Who created seventh dimensional creator mind?
I did.
Right? So then all of a sudden what starts happening is we start really becoming accountable for every single thing. And that's what I really am an advocate for, is accountability, is radical accountability. And this is what we do in the Initiate Circle, is we walk the path with complete radical accountability. And so what's beautiful is when we start looking at all of this creation with that radical accountability rather than projecting it out, right? There is no the universe, oh, the universe did this for me. No, I did this for me. And when the challenges come up and I'm like, why are they being that way? Why am I being that way? Right? Like there's no fingers that can point out anymore. It all comes directly back into here and into here, right? And so it gives us a whole new way of creating. And that's how we become the pioneers and the visceral, like we are literally in this virtual reality with the ability to co-create fifth dimension, mind space, right? So it's all about our imagination, our thoughts, our words, and our actions going into our heart space as our compass and pioneering, recreating fifth dimension so that we can be the experiencers of it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Bliss. Yes, thank you. That is such an amazing exercise because you feel it. I know all of you listening felt that. I did. For me, when it came to nature, that was really powerful. You know, I created the water. Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get into this accountability, this personal responsibility idea, because I really know this to be huge. Because we don't get anywhere without taking the personal responsibility and being accountable for ourselves.
Yeah.
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 So I don't know. Let's just talk a little bit about that and how important it is for really people to understand that this is within them and not outside of that?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing to start off with is just that what I like to practice and share is that anything that is within your immediate reality. So anything that is within what these perceivers, what they see in their real world, right? So that's what I'm accountable for. So not what I see on TV, because like if you can go down a bit of a rabbit hole if you actually start looking at, fake news. They we've seen Michael Jackson on stage as a hologram, and it looked entirely real. So we've already been able to design um, things that aren't uh, and things that aren't actually true, and then insert them into media so that the humans can get programmed into fear. So it's all cleverly designed. We're all doing this. It's all us. So for me, um, where I draw the boundary, where I create a personal accountability boundary, is that if I see it with my own two eyes, or it comes into my reality through another human, like perhaps on the phone, then I'm immediately accountable for it. So that's a huge boundary. So, because what I see happening is, for example, like major disasters in the world, or like with politics or with religion, is that the mass collective gets seriously agitated and upset, and all that energy just makes third dimension just stay exactly where it is, and it just makes it so strong and so tight. Whereas if something happens and it comes into your immediate reality and you can respond in a positive and loving way, then we're doing good. We're actually creating positive, and we're creating good. But to date, what happens is just everybody gets super, super sad and upset, and then that doesn't help. So let's just start our practice by just taking it a step in and working on our immediate reality. So if you're walking down the street and you see a homeless person, give them a smile, talk to them, ask them how they're doing, ask them how you can help. They've been inserted into your immediate reality so that you can practice accountability. Why else would that homeless person be there asking for help if it's not for you to respond with a positive action? So it's pretty simple. So if somebody calls me and they're like, "Oh my God, da 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 da, this is happening," it is now in my immediate reality. So now it is my practice to respond. And then we just need to be careful too with boundaries again too, right? Where it is okay to say, you know what, this is not mine. And I want to love you and support you, but I'm not going to take this on. And that's also something to be aware of. So immediate reality. So radical accountability in our immediate reality. And that's, so when the dramas come up, when someone's hurt, if shit goes down, then I'm accountable for it. I am literally taking responsibility that whatever is on the other side designing this program for me. And one of the ideas that I have is that when I go to sleep at night, I'm my own software engineer writing out my day, knowing what I need to learn, and then devising my day to reflect how I can have the experience. And so then I'm like coming back in, I wake up, bing, another day, and then I have the experiences to see if I can actually grow and learn from it. So that's why when it's in my immediate reality, I'm accountable for it, because my idea is that I've written it this way. So I'm even going into like such deep radical accountability. There's no one else writing this story for me. It is me and it is you. And we are co-creators. So like, for example, you and I have completely co-created this moment in time. And so we're both radically accountable for it. And so it's great. It works for the positives and it works for the negatives. It works for the challenges and it works for the heavenly moments, right? Where we get to float. So, yeah.
Yeah, because it's all us, all the good, all the bad, all just, highs and lows of one same thing.
It's who I am.
Yeah.
I am. I am the challenge. Challenge. I am. I am the positive. I am the negative. I am the joy. I am the sadness. I am the pleasure. I am the pain. So that's been my experience of source. Like my experience of source when those activations were coming through was not just the pleasure and the heaven. It was all encompassing.
Mm.
It was like being in the center of the experience of the holographic like 7.5 billion humans and all of their emotions. It was all of the animals. It was all the pain, all the suffering, all the joy, all the happiness. It was all of it simultaneously ripping through my body. So that's how I got shown what oneness truly is, what the layers of separation not being there actually feels like. And I thought it would kill me, but it would always just take me just to the edge where my toes were hanging off the mountain cliff, and just to that point, and never over, but never back either. Like it was like, so yeah, it was intense, but it really taught me how all encompassing I am. Right.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
this brings up a question for me, and I'm just curious,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you're a meditator, and if so, how important do you think that is in your journey?
It's so funny because my last name is Prema, which is the Sanskrit word for universal love, and I've been told I have a very peaceful energy. A lot of people assume that I meditate, and I don't. I've had past life regressions where I have spent innumerable lifetimes meditating, and so this is not my lifetime to meditate. I have, and every time I have, I've had very beautiful transcendental experiences. Um, I prefer I prefer a living, waking meditation. Like for me, it's as soon as something goes into where it could be a stressful moment, I just like to come into my heart space and just trust the flow, and just really, the analogy that I have is I feel like it's like this really like amazing love seat, or what are they, not a love seat but like an armchair, and it's just got
Okay, yeah, I think I
like
know
the
the love seat.
best like vegan leather.
Okay.
It's totally worn out because I've sat in this armchair, and you can flip that little switch and the feet pop up, and I'm just floating through the solar system. And so if I'm when I discovered this was teaching yoga, and I'd have to drive from one end of Vancouver to the other, and tons of traffic, and I didn't want to be late, but I had to arrive in a zen and peaceful state. And so I would just go into that armchair like way of being, and just trust the flow, and just breathe, and just think, like just be in a peace frequency. So that's my version of meditation. And so as often as I can in a day, I just go into that space.
Sure. Well, that is meditation. And I think that that's actually like why people meditate, just to get them to that space where they can actually realize in that moment, okay, I need to get heart centered. I need to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's amazing. I know people that do meditate, and it's an amazing tool for them. And also, too, even just popping on a 432 hertz a YouTube video and just having that music playing if things start to get like challenging or overwhelming, it's so helpful, and it soothes the soul.
Totally. Yeah. I love those frequencies. They just resonate. They resonate
Mm-hmm.
in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, again, it's a feeling that you just really can't put words to. So,
Exactly.
so I know that we are running out of imaginary time today. Um, but I want
Nicely
you to
done.
tell people where they can find you and if they want to work with you, how they can look you up.
Hmm. It's located my website, www.blissprema.com. And on there, I have several offerings. So for anyone that is in the Pacific Northwest, I actually do hands-on healing through Indian head massage. I also have international coaching sessions, whether it's a soul-to-soul 30-minute or a 60-minute conscious evolver coaching session. And then as well, we have the initiate circles that run in their 3-month programs. So it's just depending on how people want to dive in, to what degree. But really, what I love doing is just helping people evolve from whatever level they're at into a level that is more happy, more loving, and more fulfilling for them.
Excellent. And she's really good at it, you guys. I can tell you. So, Bliss, I have one more question for you before we take off today. It's our typical ending question. We're very what's the word? Oh, I don't have the word for that. Surprising. What's the other word?
Perfect.
We're also perfect.
Yes.
In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Bliss Prema?
The meaning of life, according to Bliss Prema, is to create a life using holographic simulation and then to make it as challenging as possible, filled with as much highlights and joy as possible so that you can have as much fun and growth in an illusionary state so that we can go back into where we came from even more whole and more happy. And gosh, I look forward to that place too. No fear.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, Bliss, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been so much fun. I love you,
I
and
love you, Erica.
I really appreciate you coming on with me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Sending so much love to you and to everyone that joins us.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, and love you all.
Thank you.